What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this series we're making a third-person shooter game in Unreal Engine 4. Now I do apologise for the lack of uploads over the last month. I took a break from game development and YouTube, it was well needed. But now I'm back and we are going to pick up right where we left in the last episode. So there are a few things which we need to do in this episode. We are going to fix an issue with our health bar. And that issue is that I'll demonstrate it in a minute. And then we're going to add crouching. So there's going to be a lot of things to do in this video and we're going to get right into it. So the first thing I want to demonstrate is the issue with our health bar. So at the moment it works. So we've got our healing and our harming. And when we add health, it goes to 1, but we can also go above 1, which we don't want. And the same works with harming. If we take all of our health away and go 1 more than that, it goes into negatives. And we're going to sort this out with a clamping node for our floats. So first of all, what we're going to do is we are going to go into our blueprints folder, and we're going to set up a few things for the HUD. So our HUD is where our health is. Well, our health bar and our health text, and these are controlled by 2 functions, which we made in our event graph. So what I want to focus on at the moment is our health bar text, and I want to just make it look a bit nicer here. So when we look at our health bar, it goes from a range from 0.5, well, 0.0, sorry, to 1. Now what I want to do is I want to make this so it goes from 0 to 100, and we can do this by using a multiply node. So I'm going to multiply our health by 100, and then I'm going to plug that into the toText float value for the health text. Now when I go to play it, it goes from 0 to 100, and that looks a bit nicer. There we go. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to add in a percentage text. So I'm going to duplicate this one over here, and I'm going to drag this one all the way down to the bottom of our thing here, and I'm going to put this one so it aligns with the number. There we go. Now I'm going to change this text to a percentage symbol. There we go. Size that to content. And now, when we run it, we're going to have a percentage symbol. So if I maximize that there, that looks a lot nicer. And that looks nice. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sort out the issue with our the clamping of the values. Of course, it still goes over and under the range we want. So that's a simple fix. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our health bar logic. Where we take and give health. And we are going to add 2 new nodes to this, so it's very, very simple. It's an easy fix. So we're going to break the floats from our subtraction and our addition here, and we're going to drag off of this and do clamp. So we're going to clamp these floats, and we are going to leave the minimum and the maximum to 0 and 1. I'm going to plug the return value into the set health, there we go, and we're going to do exactly the same for the heal. There we go. So our minimum is 0, that is the health you are at when you are dead, and then 1 is the health when you have full health. There we go. So now if we take a look at this, when we give health, it goes to 100 and it doesn't go over that. And when we take health away, it doesn't go any more than 0%. What we are going to do is we're going to add a death screen when you do reach 100, and it's going to restart the level. It's going to open up a menu, but we're going to do that in the next episode. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add our crouching. So this is going to be a bit complicated, and it's going to require us to get some assets. So I am going to go into my files folder, and I'm going to just grab those 2 animations. These animations, they are going to be in the Google Drive folder in the description of the video, which gets updated after every video if I add any new assets. Of course, you can use your own assets or get yours from Mixamo. So I'm just going to drag this one over here. Here we go. Grab our animations. And here I have is the rifle walk crouch. And there should be the rifle idle crouch as well. And I'm going to drag these two into our animations folder. Now, if you watched my Mixamo video, you should be aware of how to do this, but if you haven't, you set the skeleton to SWAT_skeleton. That's the skeleton we use for our character. And we can uncheck import mesh. There we go. And that's going to get rid of the options for importing any materials as well. You might be able to see them here. We've already got our materials, so we don't need to make any more. You're going to click import all. This should take a few moments, and it's going to give us just a bit of a warning here, but we can ignore that. And we've got our two new animations here, and we can drag these in just to load them. There we go. And that's how they look. Of course, one after the other. There we go. They look fine. Right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go into our character folder. So this is where we have our AnimBP and our blend spaces. Now at the moment we only use one blend space, and that's for our idle and running, and of course our walking as well. And we need to make another one. So what we're going to do is we are going to duplicate this, because this has all of the settings we need, really. But what we're going to do is we are going to rename this one to crouch idle run. And now all we need to do here is get rid of this one animation here, this one state, sorry, and replace these with our idle for the crouching and our walking for the crouching. So now when we go along this timeline, it goes from a crouch idle, so he's down on the ground, to a walking crouch. So it's not as high as the normal walking, but it's leaning a bit, which looks alright. So what we're going to do is we are going to save this now. We don't need to do any more additions to this, but we're going to go into our AnimBP, which is where we're going to control everything. And we are going to be able to call this new blend space in a state. So we're going to go over to our blueprint tab, and we are going to go to our idle/run, and we're going to drag off of this. And we're going to add a new state. In this new state, we're going to call this crouch. There we go. You can name this whatever you want. If you want to add in a prone state as well, you can just do this one. I might make a prone state. Well, I don't see why not. We'll make one. Sure, there's loads of features which are going to be added. So we've got this transition to the state. Now we need to get one back to it. So if you sort of take a look at what's going on here, we have our idle state, which is what it's always going to be in as default. As you can see here, it goes from our entry and it goes straight into this. So we've got the ability to go into our crouching state, and we've also got the ability to leave our crouching state and then back into the idle. So what we're going to do is we are going to set up how to get into this state. So we're going to open up this, and it's going to ask for a input to a result. And this needs a boolean. So we're going to create a new boolean, and we're going to name this is crouching. There we go. So when we compile it, the default value should always be as false. And it's going to throw up some errors here, and we can just ignore that. So we are going to plug this into the can enter transition. So whenever it is crouching, it can enter this transition. Now we need to do the opposite for the leaving the state. So what we need to do here is go into that one, and we need to apply some Boolean logic here. So we're going to drag this one out, we're going to get it, and we're going to drag off of this one and do not. So this is going to get the exact opposite of the state which it's in. And we're going to drag the not into the can enter transition, so when it is not crouching, it can go back into the idle/run. So that's how transition's done. So what we need to do now is we need to tell this to this state to use a specific blend space. So as you can see here, it's looking for a blend space and it's got its speed as its variable. We want to do the exact same for our crouching, except for with the different blend space which we just created. So we're going to go into this and we are going to drag in our crouch idle run blend space. And we are going to hook up the output into there. And we are going to connect our speed. This is the speed of the character. And we're going to put it into there. So depending on the speed, it's going to play the different animation, either idle or run. There we go. So that's all working now. It's got rid of any errors or warnings which it once had. And now we've just got a bit more work to do on the character side, and of course on the event graph side. And we're going to do that now. So we can just save all of this, make sure it's all saved. And we're going to go into our event graph of our AnimBP. So, forgot to get rid of that. I'll show you how to go through all of it again so you don't get confused. So, what we want to do is we want to drag off of this try get pawn owner. And we are going to get this and we're going to cast to our third person character. Now, it's going to look for an executive pin. So what we want to do is we want to convert this to a pure cast. So this just turns it into just the object. So as our third person character, we are going to call a boolean from our character. And this character, this variable which we're taking is crouching. Get is crouched. Now this is a default value set by the engine. Of course, we don't have a variable here. We don't have any is crouching. This is handled by the character movement, and this is determined by the crouching function which is built into Unreal Engine. So now, if it is crouched, we want to set is crouching on the is crouching variable we made. I hope that makes sense. So we're going to set that, and we're going to plug the end of this into that, and we're going to plug this boolean into here. Now if we compile and save, the whole AnimBP side should be ready to go. We need to set up the logic to enter crouching for our character. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a new input action mapping. So we'll go over to project settings and then go to the input tab. And then we're going to make a new action mapping, and we're going to call this crouch. There we go. And I'm going to set this one to left alt because that's easiest for me to press. And there we go. So that's all we need to do for our project settings. We can exit out of this tab now. Now we need to tell it when we press crouch to crouch and when we release the key to uncrouch. Now there's two ways which we can do this. We can use either a flip-flop, or we can just use the normal input mapping settings. So if we click anywhere free on our event graph for our third person character, we are going to type in our new input action mapping. So this is called crouch. And under input action events, we've got crouch, and we want to, on pressed, we want to crouch. Now the target is the character. And now when we release the key, we want to uncrouch. There we go. I'm going to move this a bit closer. There we go. Now if we compile and we save, we can now crouch. And we can walk as well. And if I show you the different states, we can crouch. That looks pretty much near perfect. And I'm quite happy with that. Right, so now, as you can see, I'm pressing the crouch button, and then when I let go of it, it automatically goes back into the idle/run state where I'm standing up. Now, if you rather prefer to have it so you have to press it again to get back into the idle run state, what you can do is on press, drag out and go into a flip-flop. This flip-flop is flow control and alternates between A and B inputs. So we go into A is to crouch, and then B is to uncrouch. And if we compile that and save that, you can press the crouch key, and I can let go of it and it's still crouching, and if I press it again, then it leaves that state. This is up to your own personal preference. If you want it like this, then you can leave it like that. But if you get rid of this flip-flop, then you can combine the crouch and the release key, and then it's going to go back to the configuration which I was just in. I like mine like that, so you have to actually hold it down for it to crouch. So I'm going to leave it like that. But if you don't want that, this is how you do it. Right, so that's it for this episode. I hope you did enjoy. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comment section, and I will try to answer all of your questions. Again, I do apologise for the lack of uploads recently, and I'm really happy to be back doing these videos. And I'll catch you in the next one.